Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me once again. This month we've decided to embark on a series called Helping Your Friends, which looks at topics that you or your friends may be struggling or dealing with and how we can just be there for one another. This week we'll be looking at depression, which actually hasn't been spoken about enough. Full disclosure, I am not in any way claiming to be an expert. I've just researched this topic for this video, and if you want more information, you can find useful links in the description below. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications if you haven't already done so. Depression has often been referred to as the common cold of mental illnesses. We have all spoken of discouragement and depression. We have felt it in our hearts. Every one of us at one time or another has experienced a setback, the grief of loss, the debilitating effects of stress. We have all felt that numbing, exhausting, demotivating fog of depression at some point or another. And then there's a kind of depression that is a bit more complicated because it is triggered by a chemical imbalance. We have all experienced it in one way or another. And what adds to the burden of the depressed and the despondent is the notion that people just don't get depressed. Any hint of depression, and that's when the stigma kicks in and the cliches start to surface. You just need to have more faith, or stop the pity party and pull yourself together, or you're not depressed, you're just sad, get over it. Despite all of the advances in treatment and in technology, despite all the ways in which our culture has become more enlightened and more compassionate, somehow mental illnesses remains in a category of its own. It's regarded as some sort of peculiar affliction where it's best dealt with by toughing it out, straightening up, putting one's will into play, and hiding any evidence of possible symptoms. According to the DSM-5, depression, otherwise known as major depressive illness or clinical depression, is a common and serious mood illness. Those who suffer with depression experience persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness, and lose interest in the activities that they once enjoyed. Aside from the emotional problems caused by depression, individuals can also present with the physical symptoms such as chronic pain or digestive issues. To be diagnosed with depression, symptoms must be present for at least 2 weeks and must include at least one of the first two symptoms, which is a depressed mood or markedly diminished interest in all activities. The rest of the symptoms include significant weight loss when not dieting or weight gain, a decrease or increase in appetite, slowing down of thought and a reduction of physical movement. This is observable by others, not merely subjective feelings of restlessness or being slowed down. Fatigue or loss of energy, feelings of worthlessness or excessive or inappropriate guilt, diminished ability to think or concentrate, or indecisiveness. And lastly, recurrent thoughts of death. When we're depressed, we feel sad about everything. Depression does not necessarily require a difficult event or situation, a loss or change of circumstance as a trigger. In fact, it often occurs in the absence of any such triggers. People's lives on paper might be totally fine. They would even admit that this is true, and yet they still feel horrible. When you're depressed, it affects every part of your life. Things you once enjoyed are no longer enjoyable. It drains your energy and motivation. It makes you impatient, irritable, angry, and feel like a failure. If you're concerned that you're experiencing depression or think a friend might be experiencing depression, rather than a bout of sadness, talk to them. Encourage them to make an appointment to see a doctor. I've put a link to SADAG's website in the description, as well as a hotline that you can call. Fortunately, Depression can be managed with therapy, medication, and support. If left unmanaged, depression can lead to something worse. As I have said previously, the stigma of depression is very real. When we have depression, we are lesser people. We're incapable of living a normal life, holding down a job, or keeping a relationship. We are the ones that normal people don't know how to deal with. They don't want to contract the crazy. At least this is what many people think. None of it is true, of course. This is the stigma that is attached to depression. On whom can we blame for the creation and longevity of this stigma? Friends and family who don't fully understand depression, the media, society as a whole? Probably all of them. Media portrayals of depression are not always so accurate, for example. Look at the series 13 Reasons Why, which included some unfortunate stereotypes about depression and suicide. Another thing to consider is that depression presents so differently in different kinds of people, so it's almost impossible to depict every type. The stigma results in so many misconceptions. It can be dangerous for the person suffering from the condition, because the negative stigma can make someone embarrassed to confess the way they're feeling, or to reach out for help for fear of being shamed and being labeled as something like a basket case. Also, we stigmatize ourselves, feeling shame simply for being who we are because of the way that society makes us feel. The reality is that depression is not one size fits all. It can be completely obvious that a person is depressed, or you'd never guess in a million years that they were. I encourage you to read the story of the prophet Elijah. Elijah had this close relationship with God. Many people witnessed the greatness of God through Elijah, but the Bible shows that even though Elijah was this man of God, he too was depressed. He felt his work had been in vain, and that no one else was supporting God. He felt totally alone, vulnerable, and hopeless. Being human, all of this started to get to him. Elijah got overwhelmed and wanted to quit. No one knew Elijah was depressed, but God did. God approached Elijah, and Elijah told God that he had been doing his best, but it was all for nothing. Elijah told God he was tired and wanted to quit. He even said he wanted to die. God comforted Elijah by talking with him in a gentle whisper. God also quietly told Elijah that he had more work for him to do, that Elijah's life had a purpose, and let him know that he wasn't alone. God showed Elijah that he is a compassionate God, and Elijah's hope was restored. Our human nature doesn't want us to acknowledge that we need help, but God tells us to go to him when we are discouraged, when we are heavy laden, and he will give us peace. Just as God strengthened Elijah's hope, he can strengthen ours as well. The Bible also encourages us to talk to our friends so that they can encourage us and support us. The Psalms reminds us that meditating on God's law brings great peace. Meditating on good things is so healthy for our minds. Therapy and sometimes medication are the foundation of depression treatment. Working with a mental health professional is paramount to recovering from depression, but other strategies are also key. Increase your activities. This is vital because depression tends to drain our energy and motivation and leads us to isolate ourselves. This starts a vicious cycle. The more you withdraw and avoid activities, the more depressed you feel, and the less likely it is that you will engage in the very activities that could improve your mood and increase your serotonin and dopamine level. You could volunteer. Volunteering at organizations that are meaningful to you would help you to connect with other people and helps you to meaningfully contribute. This then enhances your mood. Or you could try other activities such as baking, cooking, cleaning, or engaging in an art project. This helps to shift your focus. Such activities can help you to release the tension from your body. Stabilize your sleep. Sleep is vital for recovery, and depression can leave you feeling exhausted and like you never got enough rest. Although this is hard, it can be achieved through things like meditation or calming music or warm baths. Reach out. I know this is one of the hardest things to do, but your family and friends want to support you. In the same manner, if you feel like your friend is depressed, reach out. I'm not saying that you have to have the most perfect words to say, but just knowing that you are there to listen to them, to support them, can make a world of difference. Be vulnerable. We form our deepest connections with others, not around our accomplishments or successes, but around our experiences of suffering. We bond when we share stories of those experiences with one another. Ask for what you need. If you need a hug, I'm sure that your friends and family are more than willing to oblige. Be gentle with yourself. All of us are struggling and doing the best we can. Remember to be patient. Humans are incredibly complicated organisms, unpredictable even on the best of days, and we will not always respond in the same way. Be grateful. Many spiritual traditions urge cultivating a practice of gratitude, something as simple as finding 3 things each day, no matter how small, to be thankful for. Gratitude can shift an entire worldview toward greater trust, just a little bit at a time. Remember to be kind. When we notice someone else, even if it's just for a simple moment like a shared glance, we are lifted out of our own loneliness and a bit closer into the human community. Remember your strength and that your life has purpose. This is so important. We get so caught up in how we feel that we might have failed that we overlook how strong we are, where we have been strong in times of trial before. Remember that life has a purpose. Everything that I have just said can be applied to you wanting to help a friend. You could go running with them or volunteer. Reach out and allow them to be vulnerable with you. Just be kind and be patient. Give them words of encouragement. Remind them how strong they are. Remind them that they have a purpose in life. You know, one of the greatest things that a friend has told me is that I am enough. And those words are so simple, but they have had such a profound effect on me and has led me to realize that purpose isn't something that is chosen. Rather, it is something that we find, and it is something that is within all of us. And so I encourage everyone watching to believe that you are enough. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.